Vice Chair Carney, it's 4:30 if you'd like to start the meeting.
It's 4:30 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting of the Cultural Heritage Board to order. Recording Secretary, can I please have a roll call?
Thank you. Board Member Boren.
Present.
Thank you. Board Member Fennell. Present. Board Member Garrett.
Here.
Board Member Klein.
Present.
Board Member Marsland.
Here.
And Vice Chair Carney.
Here.
And let the record reflect that all board members are present with the exception of Chair Muser.
Item 2, remote participation, we have none. Item 3, approval of minutes. Does anyone have any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes for the April 17th are approved as submitted. Recording Secretary, do we have any public comment on item 3, approval of minutes?
If you're in council chambers and would like to make a comment for item 3, non-agenda matters, please make your way to the podium. Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. I meant item 4, non-agenda matters for public comment.
Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. Many of us over in Roseland feel we're in a special spot and that we should have some recognition for our history over there. One of the reasons why I'm here today is because this body has the opportunity to recommend designation of not just landmarks, but preservation districts. Along Sebastopol Road and along Burbank Avenue, named after Luther Burbank, who owned property there 115 years ago, there are people who believe that there are some areas that should be preserved. 30 years ago, the city of Santa Rosa paid for a Southwest Santa Rosa redevelopment project. Well, it was first the Southwest Area Plan, then came a Southwest Santa Rosa redevelopment project area idea. At the time when those studies were done, it was pointed out that there were nice houses along Sebastopol Road, Dutton Avenue, Burbank Avenue, and others that should have some, perhaps, consideration to be preserved. Unfortunately, both those plans went by the wayside, and new employees that came along in Santa Rosa really had no concerns about Roseland and about saving anything over there. Most of their concerns lie to the east of the railroad tracks. There are some beautiful houses over in Roseland, nice Victorians. Some of the houses that we thought would be preserved, city staff had them destroyed after the city purchased them. Millions of dollars of taxpayers' assets thrown down the drain. So what I'm hoping is that you folks might take a tour over into Roseland. 24 years ago, we were able to have Rosie the trolley used for a tour to show the officials that were a part of the Southwest Santa Rosa redevelopment project area plan what Roseland was about. It's only a 1.2 square mile district, but it has the highest population density in Santa Rosa, and it's also the densest, most disadvantaged, underserved, and overburdened community. If we could get you folks to start looking over there and see it more than just when one project arrives, you could be able to help us recommend designation for a preservation area, such as the Burbank Avenue Fire Station, which was put together by World War II veterans who came home and taxed themselves for a fire district and then staffed the volunteer fire department and kept it alive all these years. When the city got a hold of it 7 years ago in annexation, they got $3.5 million. And we'd like to see that be used to preserve that fire station building and do something special. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comment?
I see no other public comment.
All right, the public comment is closed. Moving on to item 5, board business, a statement of purpose. The principal duties of the board include undertaking and updating historic inventories or surveys, recommending designation of landmarks and preservation districts, reviewing proposed alterations to historic buildings, and promoting public awareness of preservation issues. 5.2, board member reports. Do we have any reports from the board members? No reports. Item 5.3, no elections. Item 6, department reports. Do we have any reports from departments?
That one snuck up on me. I'm going to say that this afternoon I do not have any department reports. It's nice and quiet down there today.
Excellent. All right. Item 7, statements of abstentions. Do we have any statement of abstentions from board members? Seeing none, we will move on to consent items. We have none. And on to item number 9, scheduled items. We have one scheduled item, 9.1, landmark alteration for the exterior renovations to the existing structure located at 410 Santa Rosa Avenue, file number LMA 24-008. The project proposes modification to all exterior building facades, including new windows and doors, new siding, and other architectural modifications. The changes will facilitate the conversion of commercial space at the lower level of the structure to residential. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Do we have any ex parte disclosures from anyone on the board? Go ahead.
I visited the site and walked around as best I could without trespassing.
Do we have any others?
I too have walked by and live in the neighborhood and have watched the decline of the building over the last couple years. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Where?
I didn't walk around, but I did drive by. Tried to be familiar with.
I drove by, and I'm familiar with it because I drive there often to run errands. And I'm so glad something's going to be done with it.
And indeed, I also drove by a couple of times. It's not in my neighborhood, but it's a street that I do frequent. And yeah, it's something I've noticed.
All right, I also drove past the site, and I guess with that, we're ready for the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Suzanne Hartman, and I am the project planner for this application at 410 Santa Rosa Avenue. The applicant proposes various exterior modifications to the existing building, including replacement of the existing stucco wall siding with a boral channel bevel siding, installation of new steel windows with divided lights, installation of a new plastered wall and stairway at the southeast side of the building, and the addition of a new entry door and second level steel balconies on the southwest and northeast building facades. The approximately 6,000 square foot lot is developed with a 2-story building and a shed at the rear of the property. The applicant is proposing to convert the commercial space that's at the lower level of the building to a residential unit, and there are 2 residential units on the second level. The zoning district is core mixed use, or CMU, with a downtown station area and historic combining districts. The general plan land use designation is also core mixed use. The CMU zoning district is applied to areas within downtown Santa Rosa, and the principal objectives of the CMU designation are to strengthen the role of this area as a business, governmental, detail, tourism, entertainment, and cultural hub for the region, and to accommodate significant new residential development. The downtown station area, or DSA, combining district is applicable to any property designated within the downtown transition, neighborhood transition, creek and trail activation, and active ground floor overlay in the downtown station area plan. The project site is surrounded by single-family residential homes, as well as commercial properties across and adjacent, and 2 vacant parcels to the right of the property. The project site is located within the Burbank Gardens Preservation District, and the period of significance is from 1875 to the 1940s, roughly. The Historic Combining District zoning code section states that the Burbank Gardens Preservation District was designated by City Council on March 25th, 2003. The district is a fairly homogeneous district of small single-family homes with some commercial. And although there are some houses found on Santa Rosa Avenue, in general, the character along this outer edge of the district is different, and most district properties along Santa Rosa Avenue, including the project site, are considered non-contributing properties. Staff has found that the proposed improvements would not negatively impact the neighborhood's historical integrity. So these are some photos of the existing elevations. As you can see here, we have in this left corner, this is the front facade facing Santa Rosa Avenue. And then we have this is kind of the left viewing side, and it gives access all the way back to the backyard. And this middle one is just viewed from a little side over on the right. These are photos of the commercial businesses that are across the way from the site. And directly next to the site is an existing cafe, and to the right are 2 vacant parcels right on the corner. These are the proposed elevations. There are no unresolved issues as a result of staff review, and all comments received from the project's neighborhood meeting are addressed within the staff report, and no new comments have been received since this item was noticed. The review authority shall consider the following criteria to the extent applicable in determining whether to grant or deny a landmark alteration permit. The proposed exterior changes are consistent with the applicable zoning standards, except as directed by Zoning Code Section 20-12.020. The changes implement General Plan Goal HP-B to preserve Santa Rosa's historic structures and neighborhoods by ensuring that the proposed exterior renovations are compatible with the character of the structure and the surrounding neighborhood, and the project will provide housing within the downtown station area. The existing structure is not designated as a contributor to the Burbank Gardens Preservation District, and the proposed exterior renovations will revitalize the structure, and the project will utilize materials and elements similar to its original material of the structure. The existing structure is also in need of repair, and the proposed changes will bring it into compliance with current building code requirements. This is the review criteria continued. The proposed exterior changes are consistent and compatible with the textures, materials, fenestration, decorative features, and details of the time period of the structure's construction, which I believe is 1937. The changes will significantly enhance the structure, which is in disrepair, and with respect to scale, design, form, and use of materials. The project will not alter the orientation or size of the structure. The proposed changes are consistent with the applicable Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, with guidelines for preserving, rehabilitating, restoring, and reconstructing historic structures. Other matters, criteria, and standards as may be adopted by resolution of the Cultural Heritage Board, and staff analysis concluded that findings can be made. Pursuant to CEQA guidelines sections 15301 and 15303, the project qualifies for 2 categorical exemptions because it proposes repairs to an existing structure and involves the conversion of an existing small structure from one use to another where only minor modifications are made. It is therefore recommended by the Planning and Economic Development Department that the Cultural Heritage Board, by resolution, approve a landmark alteration permit for exterior renovations at the building located at 410 Santa Rosa Avenue. This is my contact information on the screen, and I'm here if you have any questions, and I also have the applicants present as well, if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the presentation. Do we have any questions from the board for the staff or the applicant?
I have a question. When you make a recommendation and you say, we're making this recommendation that you do this, that is based on the fact, I mean, because I've watched this building, I watched what it looked like for 20 years, and it went up for sale, and it was sold as a commercial building, and it was, some work started being done, I don't think permitted, and all of a sudden, everything stops, and then it's boarded up, and it starts falling apart, and it looks worse. And that building almost looks as though it was made to look worse than it was before. It has decayed in a way that is not consistent with the time that has passed since these people have owned it. And so now it looks like we let this building fall into disrepair, and we're letting it become a residential instead of what our station area plan called for, which was businesses with the apartments over and having the housing over it. Now we're turning it, what was a business that has not been advertised from LoopNet or anything else, to try to get another commercial business in there so that we could keep the continuity of the what it was zoned for. That hasn't happened, and we've let this building fall into disrepair, and now we're going to just throw our hands up and say, oh, thank God you're here to make this a residential unit for which it wasn't ever intended. It's been operated for years as a commercial building. And now we're getting this thing here where it says we recommend, it is recommended by Planning and Economic Development that we go ahead and we make this an apartment, make this housing, when it hadn't been housing. It isn't consistent with its prior use. It isn't consistent with where it's located on the boulevard. It is not adjacent to residential. It is, and we're wanting to bring in new businesses into that area. That was our whole thing, and that's been the whole thing that everybody's talked about for 20 years, is let's fix that area and get the car lots out of there, and let's bring businesses in. What are we doing to bring businesses in if we're not encouraging businesses, and we're letting somebody buy a commercial building for a lesser price and then turn it into housing and make a tremendous amount of money on it? And I just don't understand the recommendation and where that comes from.
Well, residential is permitted within the zoning district. Uses within zoning districts, if they are permitted, they are allowed to, change over time. So the residential aspect is permitted within the zoning district, and we are recommending approval based off of the project plans that have been presented to us, and staff have found that it is in compliance with our zoning code.
The zoning code provides a very list of review criteria, and that is where the recommendation comes from. And Suzanne is correct that the use is not before the board. The use permit or the use itself is permitted by right. I understand, and I understand the question. I just want to make real clear that this isn't the first person who has commented from the public. It was actually not the public, it was a coworker who said it used to be commercial and they liked the sewing machine company. but the use is not the entitlement that is before this board. What's before the board are the exterior modifications, and that's the limit of your scope. So the review criteria and as the findings are written in the resolution, staff's analysis has concluded that the findings can be met. And it's your responsibility as the board to look at those findings and either say for a reason, give us a reason why one can't be met, enhance them if you are not in agreement, I guess, if you don't agree with it, let me just use a word I know. If you don't agree with it, what would make you agree with it? And as always, the option before the board with the vote is in favor of, opposed to, or continue, and you can condition it as well.
More questions from the board?
Did that answer your question on where the staff recommendation came from?
My question was just how we get to the recommendation part.
Yeah.
And it is, I just feel like we're at the slippery slope, and it's been something that's been before us a couple times now where it's, beg for forgiveness rather than ask for permission kind of thing.
And that's nothing new in the city.
No, I know it's not,
think
but that's something we've been concerned with.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Just for the record, I share Laura's concern, but my question is the wood siding. I noticed that it was, you could see some wood siding under the stucco on the front facade. I'm wondering if that was truly existing or if that was added at a later date as the stucco was, and if that wood continues along any of the sides. It appears that it either is, was on the back of the building and is to be again on the back of the building. But I do have a question about that. So that's my first question. My second question is, if there's no wood siding, especially on the south-facing wall, is all that stucco going to come off and be restuccoed? There are huge cracks in that wall that almost go through it. It looks like into the structure.
I will defer to the applicant for those questions. I'll just have them go up to the
Thanks.
podium.
I assumed you would.
To the right of the podium.
All right. Hello?
We can hear you.
All right. So your first question was about the wood siding? No?
Yes.
So we're going to replace it. Well, let's see. Your first question was, is that original? I mean, I don't know. I can tell you when we had the engineers out, their assessment was that originally it was a one-story building built like 1870s maybe. And then later it was jacked up and they built a warehouse underneath, and that was an auto upholstery repair shop until Jim turned it into a sewing machine repair shop. So I don't know if that wood siding is original or not. We're assuming possibly it is. And then we're going to take all the stucco off, or the plan is, and use, it's actually not wood siding, it's made out of industrial ash, so it's like super fire resistant, and we're gonna do the building in that.
Does that look like wood siding?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that all 4 exterior walls will be that wood ash.
Yes, it will be that siding.
Thank you. And I have one other question. On the new windows in the storefront portion of that downstairs apartment, it appears that they're operable, but are they?
I would have to, are those operable? Yes, portions of them are.
So it's just the lower ones that are operable?
I think it's like I think the middle sections aren't, but I think the ones on the side are.
Yes, the ones on the side appear to
I believe so,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
That was just a clarification. Thank you. Oh, could you, or did you
Yes.
identify yourself? I'm not
My name
sure.
is Shane Kelly. I am my wife and I own the building.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. DeWitt.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, bud.
I would like to ask, where is parking for the vehicles of the residents of this building? Where would that be? Where do they park their cars?
So we have parking in the front and on the side. So we can do, 2 large cars, tandem parking in the driveway, and then 1 in the front. Or if you guys want to let us park them in the back, I mean, I'm open to ideas.
Yeah, wouldn't parking in the back be better? Is that,
Parking is not required in the downtown station area, and this property is there, and it's connected to the use, not the outside shell of the building. So that's really, again, what the scope of this board is limited to, is the exterior changes to the structure.
yeah, I get technical, sorry.
Okay, do we have any more questions from board members? I was a little unclear on what the historical siding was of the building. You said it was a 1-story, and at that time maybe it was wood siding, and then it got raised, and at that time it was made stucco. Was that?
So, I mean, I'll give you a little background. I live around the corner with my wife, and we look at the building every day. And so I would like to apologize on behalf of us. It is an eyesore, and I'm very sorry for that. We had a transient that continued to break in, and we had to board it up to keep her out for her own safety. But I know it looks terrible. We started to do work on taking the stucco off to fix the cracks, and you can see under the stucco on the corners that there is like wood siding that they just stuccoed over. So we're going on that, like, that wood siding is more original than the stucco.
Sure.
So we tried to duplicate that with what we chose for what we're proposing.
I had another question, which is, I'm sorry, I think you may have answered this, but the 2nd-story windows with the balconies, those are going to be doors that open for balcony access? Is that what's?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and so those will actually be larger than the windows that are currently
Yeah, those
there.
would come out. That was actually our lovely City Hall people said, boy, wouldn't that be nice? And I looked at my architect, and he said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So we thought that would be a nice feature.
So I agree. I think that, technically speaking, it's not necessarily in line with historical use, but I think it's a nice improvement. What they say in the standards is that it's not supposed to keep the same size and number of windows and doors, but certainly you're staying within the bounds, I believe. So I think that's going to look good.
Yeah, I mean, it's my wife and I have done property management most of our careers, and this is kind of like our hopefully final project, and ideally at some point we'd like to live in the bottom unit and kind of retire there.
Very nice.
We would like to do a really nice job with this property.
Do we have any other questions from the board? All right, then I guess we'd like to open public comment on item 9.1.
Looks like we have a public comment for this one.
Are we ready? Hello, my name is Dwayne DeWitt. I'm from Roseland. I've never met the applicant before in my life. I have no financial concern in any way, shape, or form for any of these proceedings today. I am here to support the project. I want you folks to understand there is a surplus of vacant commercial properties throughout this county. There is a dearth of affordable housing or any housing. You can say that housing has a filter, and those that live in the more expensive places, they empty out a less expensive spot, so it filters down and people can live there. I'm hoping, I've been going by this place all my life, I'm hoping that this will be approved and it will go forward and they'll be quite successful. I know that the residents that will live there will contribute to any of the businesses that can survive on Santa Rosa Avenue. There's a number of vacancies on Santa Rosa Avenue. You can go see for yourself. So this is one of those things where people will say, well, it was commercial. Well, renting out units and living in units is also commercial in its own way. Actually, many people, they become involved in the residential business because it is so lucrative. It is a cash cow for many people. These people now that I've heard today won't be doing that. They'll be living in it in the future. So that's a positive. You'll have people who live right there in the area. They'll be the eyes on the prize, if you will, for that community to make sure that it is able to rise up and be what some might say is a touchstone for the regeneration of this entire neighborhood. The hope that the city has put those big concrete traffic calming measures forward and things of that nature. You'll get more pedestrians down there now, and this will be an enhancement. So I hope you'll take this to a positive, supportive vote. Let this person go forward as soon as possible without any further bureaucratic hoops to jump through. Thank you for your time.
All right, seeing no other public comment, we'll close public comment at this time. Do we have any final questions from board members of the applicant or staff? No? Okay, so I'll ask for a board member to make a motion for the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Where's the resolution? Sorry, I'm looking for the resolution number here.
You'll introduce, somebody will make a motion and read the top of the resolution, and somebody else will second it, and then you have your discussion. Board Member Klein, do you have a copy of the resolution up?
Let's see. It should be right here, right? Wait. Okay, I have put in a resolution for the resolution of the Cultural Heritage Board of the City of Santa Rosa approving a landmark alteration permit for various exterior renovations to the existing structure located at 410 Santa Rosa Avenue in the Burbank Gardens Preservation District, Assessor's Parcel Number 00262-015.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, now that we have a second, do we have any comments from board members? Go ahead.
Before I give my comments, I'd like to tell you how appreciative I am of the fact that you have tried to maintain the generic commercial flat front structure that is so common in these older commercial areas of Santa Rosa. My first comment, however, is in complete disagreement with my fellow board member. I think the balconies take away from the historic flat front architecture, and this is the gateway to the city of Santa Rosa, and I think it should champion the historic district that it edges, and should adhere as much as possible to the original intention of this building, which is to look like a commercial building. I love the fact that it's actually going residential. I think those are some of the most interesting uses for these buildings in older cities where there aren't as many living spaces. I think you've done a very nice job, but I would recommend that you get rid of the balconies, and if for some reason we don't get rid of them, then I would like to condition the use of those balconies and what can be on them in the final resolution. The other piece that I had when I was walking, and you were probably there because there was a truck there, but while I was walking around and looking at the building, I thought you probably will want to, if not right away in the future, put that gate back up where the stairway is to the second-story units, so the backyard is secure and those upstairs units are secure. Let's see. I think that's it. My only issue with the architecture and the fact that it's out of character with a commercial building are those balconies.
More comments on the resolution?
I agree with Cappy as far as the balconies go. They don't lend themselves, it looks confusing. It looks like a commercial building that has these, if we're going to keep it a commercial-looking building and have it be residential, the balconies don't lend themselves in any way to being, conducive, and they don't add anything to the neighborhood. It's not a great view out of those windows, and just having it look commercial in scope would probably be the best bet.
And to your comment, Cappy, there are balconies on the back as well as the front. No, I know you don't. I'm just
I
saying.
don't mind the back.
That's what I'm saying. My point is that they could take them off the front and still have balconies, because the balconies are a little bit of a plus for those units, I think, to have a place to open a door and step outside.
That was another question I should have asked, is if the tenants have access to the garden or yard, I guess it is. They do.
Yes.
So they don't really need those balconies. My issue with, this for me is an architectural issue for this particular building. I have an issue with balconies in general because most of them have, bathing suits and surfboards and towels hanging off of them, and they look totally trashy and terrible. So but I think that this flat front commercial type architecture does not deserve to be, have these tacked on.
Any other comments? So I guess we need to decide if we're going to condition this approval upon keeping the second story windows original without the balconies. Is that something that we would like to modify our motion for, or should we get a new motion?
I just want to.
Board Member Boren, can you please speak into the microphone?
Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry. You pointed out that there were back balcony, you have side balconies, front balconies, and back balconies?
There are 2 balconies in the front, there's a balcony in the rear, and then there's the side entrance that kind of goes up.
I think I'd agree with Cappy and definitely about the front balconies.
So I think what we need, we have a motion and we have a second. We need somebody to make a friendly amendment to add the condition, and then we'll need the motioner to accept that condition and the seconder to accept the condition. Otherwise, we withdraw. Well, we've got other options, but let's see where that action goes.
Okay, so do we have a friendly amendment?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to your motion that we eliminate the balconies from the front of this building.
I'll second that.
So you'll approve that to your motion, and then do we have a second? Do we need a second again on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay.
And before you all vote, if you could please allow the applicant to either accept or decline on the added condition. It might be wise to take maybe a 5-minute break so that they can discuss this and make sure, see how it's going to work.
Great, yeah, let's call for a break, 5 minutes. Susie, are you guys ready to come back to order? Yeah. All right, we will resume the meeting of the Cultural Heritage Board.
I apologize. I'm trying to rack my brain. I know who made the motion. If I could use a refresher on who seconded the motion.
Board Member Foran seconded, I
Thank
believe.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So the applicant is prepared to accept the proposal of removing the balconies, but they would also like to propose a modification to the wall siding to just leave it as the stucco material.
Question on that, the entire building of the stucco material?
Yes.
Okay, and was the outside stairwell wall, was that stucco material on the plans?
Yes.
It is, yeah. So that we need to put as a condition approved?
Yeah, we'd add that as a condition of approval, so the plans get modified, but I think it warrants some discussion if anybody has any comments to make.
Sure, do we have any comments from the board on the siding material?
Can I ask?
Yes, absolutely. I think.
Would that be the entire building? So there would be no wood on the front structure?
Correct.
Do we know how long that stucco's been on that? I mean, I think I made the assumption that maybe when they lifted the building, that's when the siding was changed, and that was probably quite a while ago. We don't really know.
I don't know that we know that, but I'm going to point out too that we don't have as much, we don't require as much information on this because this building is not listed as a contributor. It's not designated locally, so we don't require the depth of information that we would if it were a contributor to the district.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be all stucco.
My
Can
feeling
I
is
ask
the
everybody to
stucco
speak into the
certainly.
microphone so we can all hear the discussion?
Oh, I thought I had it on. I don't have an objection to the whole building being stucco.
Yeah, I think stucco matches the neighborhood and the. Do we have any other comments on it? Okay, so can someone make an amendment to the motion for the resolution conditioning stucco exterior for the entire building?
I'd like to make a friendly amendment that are the doors going to be replaced with windows, or are you going to keep the doors? I may as well put everything in this friendly amendment.
This would,
Or are you going to go back to the window?
Yeah, with no balconies, there's no doors. They will be replacing the windows. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a friendly amendment that when the balconies are removed, that we go back to the window configuration to be the same as what was existing, and that the entire building be conditioned as stucco.
I have a clarification beforehand on the windows. What's existing now, I don't have the plans in front of me, but I would direct you. I want to make sure the applicant is okay with going to what's existing.
I mean the shape, so that they don't have to be,
Okay.
I mean, you can choose it. I don't actually really care, as long as they're not curved on the top.
Right. I think in the plans Suzanne just put up on the screen, I think it was the applicant's intent to do the divided light type of windows on the front elevation, and I just want to make sure that's okay.
Oh, no, that's what I'm expecting, the same commercial look, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what it looks like in the picture from the historical survey is probably what we're
Good guideline, yeah.
looking for.
They're almost as big as the French doors. Yeah. So shall we continue?
Okay, so we have that condition set forth. Board Member Klein, would you accept those conditions for your motion on your resolution?
I do accept those conditions.
Board Member Bourne, do we still have a second? I think it's off now.
I also accept those conditions.
Excellent.
So quick question, what we're saying is the view from Santa Rosa Avenue as it exists today on those vinyl windows, that would be the same size that we're seeking to keep and not keeping the bigger lit windows that are shown in the plans now? Or are we going to keep those windows, not just let them be open? I mean, not like a door, but a window.
So right now, it's shown on the plans as a door that would access the balcony. And so the building, the way I understood the condition is the windows that will go in those positions will be divided divided light, like those shown on the plans, only they will be windows and not doors. Okay. That's the way I understood the condition, and Suzanne is crafting conditions. We will read those back to you before the vote as soon as this discussion is done, just so that, when the building permit comes in, whomever's looking at it can understand what they're looking for on the condition.
Do we have any more comments on our resolution? All right, seeing none, we'll ask the recording secretary to call for a vote.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Board Member.
Do we want to wait till it goes right back?
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion in that last round, so I'd like Suzanne to read the conditions back.
Could we because I wasn't really sure how to get that last part about the windows. Could we just reiterate what is wanted from the board regarding the windows?
The windows would be the same as they show as the existing elevation, but they would look like the French doors below. They would be the divided lights with the metal frame.
Okay, so proposed divided lights, but the same size and orientation.
Right,
as
so
the
they would be
existing.
in the existing openings, I'm assuming.
Okay.
I would like to make a friendly thing that they stay the larger size that they are existing on the current plans, where they're a little bit bigger. They don't need to go all the way down to door length, but to bring more light into there, I think it will bring the top and the bottom into more balance.
I think you'll see that the windows in the existing plan,
There's much smaller area in this. There's so much space in between that is not represented on the current.
I'm looking at the plan, not the photos.
The photos are the windows are much smaller, and I don't even know if they're to code as far as ingress and egress.
The windows are very small on the original. They should be tall, like how his rendering is. It makes exactly.
They are tall on the plans, the original plan.
He wants to keep it like that.
And they should be the size of the original.
What, the original?
No, the original, which are taller.
The drawings, right, not the dilapidated building.
They're basically the same size as the ones on the first floor, which is like 3 sections instead of 4. 3 panes. Yeah, vertically.
So for clarity, we're looking at drawing 4 of 6 on the plan set, the southwest elevation.
Or maybe are there 6? No, they're just, are there 4 divides there, or? I can't tell.
Actually, only two of those windows open on the first floor.
4 of them do.
I mean, yeah, 2 on each side of the door. Yeah, 4 windows open. The upstairs windows are just going to be taller than the original.
They'll open. So I think the easiest way to clarify that is these windows will not be square. They will be taller than square.
And those are the windows on the second floor where the balconies were, correct?
Right, and those windows originally were tall windows, and they may be under the stucco or something, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what you find when you start opening those exterior walls.
So when you say tall, do you mean kind of how they're proposing it
The
right
vertical,
now?
the vertical should be longer, it should be a bit larger dimension than the horizontal dimension.
Okay.
I put this in.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because you're assuming there's an architect. I don't know. No, he may be the architect.
I kind of like the siding on there, though.
Yeah, those are tall.
The siding gave it kind of a different look.
Or do you think the awning makes?
Shiprock.
Yeah, I think it's almost as tall as.
Yeah, they're renting out, you know? It's, yeah, it's like the economy or what, or businesses aren't. It's kind of, yeah, kind of dilapidated. So, yeah. Very, yeah, it's eerie, isn't it?
I know, it looks so straightforward. So here's what I did. The windows shall be the same size as existing and replaced with divided light as shown in the plans. But they don't want it to be the existing size. They want it to be taller. I don't think so. I think they want to really keep it like this. I think it's hard. I just asked them. That's my call. Light goes into light because it's a certain value. And it's so we need some clarification. On the windows, what I'm understanding now is that if they go too tall and closer to the floor, they require some additional hardware on the inside.
No.
What I thought I understood was that the windows shall be the same size as the existing windows, which are taller than they are wide. So the same size, the windows shall be the same size as the existing windows, but replaced with divided light as shown on the plans. That is, and so I'm getting no's and I'm getting yeses. So we need to refine that condition before we can take a vote. And you're welcome to discuss it amongst yourselves, but please do it with your microphones on so that people listening can hear. It's okay to ask clarifying questions of each other. We need to get the language on the condition right and then take a vote. And I will point out that everybody doesn't need to agree on this. However, the friendly amendment is made and accepted. And I think we've already made a friendly amendment. And Crystal, I don't know if we need to withdraw that, and and add it? I don't know the process there. Do we?
I don't think we do, because I think just in chatting, while you all were chatting, what we want is for this window to be the same height and width, more or less, that it shows in the photo from the historic study, which appears to be the same height as what, to me anyway, to what is existing on the building. But I'm not sure, and because I don't, I didn't measure the window with a tape. But, I mean, what we want is for that we don't want the windows to go to the floor. They have to be to code. So if the horizontal has to be narrower than the vertical. So they're in proportion with the picture of on the historic survey.
I have the existing elevations too.
Can you pull that up so that we can all be on the same page as to whether
The historic?
the historic picture that Cappy's talking about, can we take a look at that picture so that we can?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, there's no,
Yeah, that's one of your attachments. Okay,
Do the
so we're going to
architectural
pull this
plans?
up. We're going to pull the historic attachment up so that everybody understands what we're talking about. There we go. A picture says 1,000 words. Here you go. So when you're conditioning,
Right, and there are no dimensions on the plans that we can read without a scale, and you can't read computerized plans with a scale.
So these windows were replaced recently?
According to the Google Street View, the current windows have been there, it looks like, since like 2011.
Those are different than that picture.
Yes, I think they're a little bit
They look
skinnier.
smaller, much smaller than that picture and what exists today. The ones that exist today look like they're vinyl, and they look much smaller.
so at this point, so we know what's there, and we've established, too, that they're not the original windows that were there. I think that Board Member Garrett had mentioned that earlier. What we're trying to figure out is what windows, what the, not dimensions, but the shape. And these windows that are shown in this photograph are wider, in my opinion, they appear wider, and the applicant's architect agrees with me, that they look wider. And I think this is what you were referring to,
Well,
what
and
you might
then
find inside the
in the
walls.
drawing of the original drawing on the plans, that window appears to be, that second story window appears to go up under the awning that's above it and be almost the same height as the window on the first floor, if not the same. So what I was assuming that was existing is what is on the southwest elevation before the proposed plans. Do you see how they're very vertical? They're a little narrower, but they're definitely vertical.
So can the window, or would you be comfortable with the windows that are on that historical photograph with those windows going in.
I think that would be the most appropriate.
That would be fine.
Yeah.
Does that work? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this
they-
used to work really well when the applicant could come sit across the table from us and we could just chit-chat.
I know, we did adopt some rules, and they're
Right.
across the board for all, for all of our
I know,
review
but
authorities.
it really worked
so.
better that way. It was more friendly.
So I think what we need to do is withdraw the friendly amendments. And do we need to withdraw the motion altogether, or can we just withdraw the friendly amendments? We can just withdraw the friendly amendments and then reiterate the friendly amendments. And she types really fast, so she'll be, if we have any question, we'll stop for clarification. But if you can just repeat the friendly amendments, that would be helpful.
Okay, so I move to remove my friendly amendments.
And that needs to be accepted by the motioner.
I accept it.
And by the seconder.
I accept it.
And now a new friendly amendment made. And if you want to do it in multiple amendments, you can, however you state them is how they'll go on to the plans. I think it would be easier for staff if you address the windows separately from the siding and separately from the balconies.
I would like to add two friendly amendments. The first being that we remove the balconies from the building, and the second be.
Clarify that one.
Do we have to
Is that
vote on
the
that?
balconies on the front of the building, correct?
Yes, the front of the building.
Thank you.
I think I have that one written as well, if you would like me to read it back to you. And the applicant shall eliminate the balconies on the front building facade. The second level windows shall be the same size, dimensions, and design as the original windows shown on the historic resource valuation, give or take.
That's good, thank you. And then the third friendly amendment would be that the entire building be stucco. Thank you.
Now you can take the vote.
Okay, so we have our resolution. Oh, do we need to have our resolution approve that friendly amendment
I approve the 3 friendly amendments.
and our second as well?
I also approve the 3 friendly amendments.
Okay, so this resolution was motioned by Board Member Klein and seconded by Board Member Boren, with friendly amendments by Board Member Garrett. I'll now ask the recording secretary for a roll call vote.
Thank you. Board Member Boren,
Aye.
Board Member Fennell,
Aye.
Board Member Garrett,
Aye.
Board Member Klein,
Aye.
Board Member Marsland,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Carney.
Aye. So the resolution passes with 6 ayes, and Chair Muser absent. Please note this action is final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk's office within 10 calendar days of today's decision pursuant to zoning code section 206230. And with that, I'll call for an adjournment. The meeting of the Cultural Board is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our applicant.
If we want to discuss the possibility of some historic designation in Roseland, Do we have to ask that you put that on an agenda? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.